Om Asmadgurubhyo Namaha. Krishno Rakshatu no Jagatraya Guruhu Krishnam Namasyamyaham Krishnena Varasetravo Vinihataha Krishnaya Tasmai Namaha. Krishna Deva Samuthitam Jagadidam Krishnasya Dasosmiham Krishne Tishtati Sarvametadakhilam He Krishna Samrakshamam. Jai Srimanarayana. The blessings of Sri Chinna Swamiji. We are continuing chapter 5. We finished sloka 6 in our last session. We'll start with sloka 7 today. Start sharing. Sloka 7. Can you see the sloka?
Yes, sir.
7? Okay. Okay. Please chant. Yoga Yukto Visuddhatma
Yoga Yukto Visuddhatma
Vijitatma Jitendriyah
Vijitatma Jitendriyah
Sarvabhutatma Bhutatma
Sarvabhutatma Bhutatma
Kurvannapi na lipyate.
Kurvannapi nalipyate.
Let's chant together.
Yoga Yukto Visuddhatma Vijitatma Jitendriyah Sarvabhutatma Bhutatma
Kurvannapi na
nalipyate.
So Lord Krishna is continuing. Yoga Yuktaha, one who is a practitioner of Karma Yoga. Okay, Yoga word whenever it comes, default meaning is Karma Yoga. Okay, if you say Yogi, Yoga Yuktaha, so one who is united with Karma Yoga, or one who is interested in doing activities as Karma Yoga. Visuddhatma. Visuddhatma is one who has purified manas. Atma here, the meaning is manas. Manas is roughly translated in English as mind. So Yoga Yuktaha is one who is the practitioner of Karma Yoga. Kind of as a result of that, the Atma, that is Manas, gets purified. So is also called Vishuddhatma. So as a result of performing Karma Yoga, the Manas is purified. Okay, and Vijitatma, Vijita Atma is one who has the mind under control. Atma again here is mind. Okay, so Vijita Atma, one who has conquered the mind. Our mind is under the control. So again, it's one who is practicing Karma Yoga, the manas is purified, then mind is under control. Jitendriyaha. Jitendriyaha is one who has overcome the senses. So mind is under control, senses will be under control, right? Because senses are under the control of manas. Okay, so having become Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, Jitendriyaha, Sarva Bhuta, say here, Sarva Bhuta, Atma Bhuta Atma, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, he says. So, again referring to this person. So, as one practices Karma Yoga, this person realized that self of all beings is equivalent to oneself. This is very important. Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. It is kind of split as Sarva Bhuta, Atma Bhuta, Atma. Sarva Bhuta is all beings. Atma Bhuta, Atma is the self in all those beings. The Atma in all those beings is equivalent to me, myself. It's not that I am in all those beings. Okay. Okay. So Sarva Bhuta, Atma Bhuta, Atma Kurvan api na lipyate. Even while engaged in activities, Kurvan is while performing activities. Kurvan api, even while performing the activities, na lipyate is not tainted. Okay, not bound, not acquiring karmic bondage. So this is very key. Now, when we are performing an action, if we don't perform it as Karma Yoga, okay, then the action becomes binding. We get fresh karmic record. But a practitioner of Karma Yoga, especially one who realizes that the self in all beings equivalent to me, that one, even though while they are performing the activity, they are not acquiring karmic bondage. So one more thing is that a Karma Yogi is performing actions that are prescribed, not whatever they think of, right? Whatever is prescribed, they're performing that activity. Okay, so there would be, some people who may argue, for sake of argument, say that, okay, if I'm stealing or hurting somebody or doing all that kind of actions, if I do it, can I do it as Karma Yoga? No. Of course, unless it is your duty. I mean, again, Arjuna's duty is to punish wicked people, punish bad in the society. So they may be taking that kind of an action. It's not for everybody to decide whatever, for their own benefit, right? I mean, somebody is stealing from a bank for them to enjoy, but I want to do it as service to God. It's not possible. That's not, you can't say, oh, I'm doing it as service to God, though I'm, So the Karma Yoga, one is performing Karma Yoga. One can say that I am performing Karma Yoga when we are following whatever is prescribed duty, whatever is ordained in scriptures. Okay. So when we are performing Karma Yoga, as we learned earlier, while we are doing it, our not only we're not only clearing, not getting the karmic bondage for that particular action, we are clearing the previous karmic bondage that is in our store, right? We learn that. So so we are getting purified. So self is carrying a lot of karmic bondage that is still not assigned to us. We may have to go through several births to experience that karmic bondage. Now, if we are performing our actions as Karma Yoga, that which has not been assigned to us is getting cleared also. So we are purifying ourselves. So Yoga Yuktaha, one who is practitioner of Karma Yoga, Vijitatma is, Vishuddhatma is getting purified. Vijitatma is, his mind is under control. And and then Jitendriyaha is they have senses under control. With that, they're performing the activities, and they're thinking that the self in all beings is equivalent to myself. For that person, even though when they are doing the activity, the activities do not cause karmic bondage. So here, just to explain a little bit more, right? All bodies that we see are different, right? Even within the same species, they are different bodies. They're not same exactly. The Atma in those bodies, in their pure form, are all equivalent. But because of the karmic bondage, that Atma got that particular body at that moment, right? So we need to recognize that in my purified self, like when myself is purified, it is equivalent to any other self in any other being, no matter what the body that appears to me. So self in all beings is equivalent. Okay? So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Prasad Garu, I just wanting to understand this a little better. We are talking about manas, mind, atma. If you could kindly please explain the differences.
Atma has different meanings. Atma doesn't always mean the self. In Bhagavad Gita, Atma meaning, in some places it is manas. Meaning of Atma is manas. Okay? So in Sanskrit, not only in Sanskrit, in English also some words have two meanings, right? Okay. So here, when we are Atma Samyama Yoga, okay, so it talks about how to control the manas, not controlling the Atma. So Atma in its pure form is in the form of nature. There's no problem with Atma. Unfortunately, it's a problem with our minds because we are carrying karmic bondage and all the vasanas that we are carrying. So Atma is manas. So that's why take down, if you're noting down. Okay. In some places, it again, Paramatma is very clear. Paramatma is God.
Yes.
When it says just Atma, we need to see what is the context. Okay. So Atma is referring to ourself or Manas. Manas is the one that controls our Indriyas. Again, Indriyas are not just the physical, things that we see. For example, eyes, right? So Chakshu Indriya. Eyes. The Indriya is not just the physical part of the eye. It's the entire mechanism.
Okay.
Physical hardware and software, if you see, right? So Manas is also like that. It is not. Don't say that Manas is just the brain and right. So it is the hardware and software that actually controls our senses.
Okay.
Okay, where our previous vasanas reside and all that. So so the Atma here refers to that manas. Vijita Atma, see, I am Atma. What is Vijita Atma if I am referring to that self, right? The or Vishuddha Atma, Vijita Atma, Jita, of course, Jitendriya is Indriyas. So Atma is manas, and that is under control. When manas is under control, manas controls Indriyas. So Indriyas are under come under control, and with controlled indriyas, if you are doing our activities, we do not run after the sensory pleasures. We will be doing whatever is the necessary duty for us. And when we are doing the duties, again, because we do not have our mind is purified, we do not go after our desires based on the vasanas. We'll be trying to understand what is our duty and then perform our duties. So when we perform our duty, again, as a practitioner of Karma Yoga, we follow the principles of Karma Yoga. I, me, mine is not there in performing the Karma Yoga. We'll know more principles in this particular chapter about how to perform our karmas. So when we do it like that, then we don't acquire karmic bondage. If we do any other way, then we are getting karmic bondage. Like if we simple thing is, if we don't perform activities as Karma Yoga, no matter how good or bad it is, it always generates karmic bondage. Sometimes the karmic bondage is punya, sometimes karmic bondage is papa, and we have to go through those experiences again. Okay. So we must have acquired a lot of punya, so we got human birth, and
Yes.
fortunately, not having some of the problems that other human beings that we see have. So Karma Yogi is thinking that I am the self in all bodies, the individual self, right? They are distinct, not one self in all bodies. Is each of those distinct individual atmas are equivalent to me. Okay, so there's no difference. But because of acquiring karmic bondage, they got that body and I got this body. So it also shows that if I am not performing my duties as Karma Yoga, right? I would be acquiring karmic bondage, which would give me that kind of a birth. May not be the same birth, same hands and legs and all that, right? We might be ending up with those. So that is a kind of in other words, I mean, basically, if we see somebody struggling, right? We know that it is because of the karmic bondage, and we do not want to acquire that karmic bondage, even though we may be living perfectly fine, right? So even someone who is maybe son or daughter of Bill Gates or somebody like that, so if they are not doing their duties as Karma Yoga, they can see others and learn from them because they're not different from other beings. So they could be one of those people next, right? So that's why, unfortunately, those who kind of have lot of resources in this life and don't use it properly, those are the ones who would acquire more karmic bondage than who don't have any resources at all. So it's a curse in a way.
Yeah, I thank you so much. I definitely understood this Atma and Manas. How does mind play with Manas? Manas will control mind, or mind is a separate
Mind
entity?
is an English word for Manas.
Okay, thank you.
For our understanding.
Okay.
So when you read any book, Manas is translated as mind.
Into mind. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So see, self. I am the Atma in all those beings. Let us say, if I am saying that way, it really doesn't mean that I am there in all those beings. Okay. Let us just take the example. So we show, I mean, this is again coming from Bhagavad Gita and Sri Swamiji with several examples. So you say rice grain, right? Take one rice grain and say, this rice is there in all houses. right? Rice is there in all houses. You just show and then say this is the rice in all houses. Are you really saying that that exact same rice is there in all the houses? That rice, I mean, every house has rice equivalent to this particular rice grain. Okay, and let's say you have a picture in your house, popular picture. You say all houses have the same picture. You're not saying the exact same physical picture there in all the houses. The equivalent picture is there in all the houses, right? All of us are eating same food, right? If you say that, you're not taking one mango and eating, right? All of us are eating mangoes, but we say we are eating the same food. So all theaters are showing same show. It's not like one show is appearing in all the theaters at the same time. So the reason why I'm giving this is that sometimes it is confusing, that we may think, oh, when someone says that, oh, I am there in all beings, it is not, it could be treated as I am really present in all beings. It's not equivalent. There's something that is equivalent to me is in those beings. And when you put those two as side by side, you cannot differentiate. Like you take one rice grain from one house and equivalent rice grain from another house and put them side by side, you can differentiate. Exactly same characteristics and everything. So when we have something like that, I say, okay, the same rice is cooked in all the houses. Everybody's eating the same rice. So that is what we need to remember. So here it is talking about equivalence of all beings in different bodies, and the bodies are obtained because of the whatever is the karmic bondage and the gunas that are carried from the previous births. Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to the next sloka. Sloka number 8. See sloka 8.
Yes, sir.
Naiva kinchit karomiti.
Naiva kinchit karomiti
Yukto manyeta tattvavit.
Yukto manyeta
tattvavid
tattvavid
Pasyan shrunvan sprushan jigran.
Pashyan Shrunvan
Prashan Jigran
Jhigran
Asnan gachan swapan swasan.
Ashnan
Gachan
Gachan
Swapan
Swapan
Swasan
Swasant.
Very difficult to pronounce, but let us chant together.
Naiva
Naiva
Kinchit
Kinchit
Karomiti
Karomiti
Yukto
Yukto
Manyeta
Manyeta
Tattvavid
Tattvavid
Pasyan
Pashyan
Pashyan
Shrunvan
Sranvan
Sprushan
Jigran
Jigran
Savan
Ashnan
Jigran
Gachan Swapan Swasan
Swasant.
Swasan.
Yeah, Vasant.
Okay.
Swasant.
Next sloka continues. Let us. So it is continuing sloka. Let us chant sloka number 9. Pralapan visrujan grunhan.
Pralapan Visrujan
Vishrujan Krishnan
Unmishan nimishan api.
Unmishan
Nimishan
Nimishan
Api
Abhi
Indriyan indriyardheshu.
इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु
वर्तन्त इति धारयन्
वर्तन्त
इति
इति
धारयन्
Let's chant together.
प्रलपन् विसृजन्
गृह्णन्
उन्मिषन्नपि
उन्मिषन्नपि
इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्.
We can learn a lot of Sanskrit from these two slokas, and very important slokas. Okay, so Lord Krishna is saying yuktaha. Yuktaha is Karma Yogi. Okay, one who is united with yoga, yoga yuktaha, yuktaha. So they're all like synonyms. So Karma Yogi, Tattvavit. Tattvavit is one who knows the truth about the self. Who is the knower of the tattvas, the three tattvas that we talked about? Atma, Paramatma, and Prakriti. So one who is aware of these tattvas, or at least, I mean, we simply refer to it as knower of the self, right? Someone who knows the self will also know Paramatma and Prakriti, because self is distinct from Paramatma, distinct from Prakriti. That's when we call ourselves as knower of self. Api, so Lord Krishna is saying all this pasyan, srunvan, sprusan, jigran, like saying api in the end, right? So we translate it as even while doing all these activities. Lord Krishna is now talking about all the activities that we do in our life. So let us go through them. Pasyan, seeing. Okay, pasyati, seeing. When we call third person, like Ramaha pasyati, is Rama is seeing. So we'll just take the meaning of those. Pasyan is seeing. Srunvan is hearing. Sprusan is touching. I'm pronouncing it as sa, right? Na sha. Sha is different from sa, different from sa. Okay, so Srunvan is hearing. Sprusan is touching. Jigran is smelling. Asnan is eating. Gachan, moving. Swapan is sleeping. Swasan is breathing. Swasa is breathe, right? In the next loka, Lord Krishna is talking about pralapan is talking. Visrujan is excreting. Okay. Grunhan, na is pronounced before ha. Grunhan is taking with hands, typically, receiving. Unmishan, opening the eyes. Nimishan, closing the eyes. So all these activities that we are doing with our karmendriyas and jnanendriyas, typically, right? So Lord Krishna went through seeing is by eyes, hearing is ears, smelling, nose, eating with mouth, tongue, right? Moving with legs, sleeping is again, we're sleeping, breathing, prana. So not just the activities of indriyas. Lord Krishna is also saying the activities of prana as well, right? While we are living, we are breathing. right? So that's related to prana activity. So all these activities that we are doing, activities that we do with our body, with our senses, are activities that happen internally in us without our knowledge. Breathing is one such thing. Most of the times we don't even realize that we are breathing. Okay, unless somebody has asthma. That's when we realize, oh, I'm breathing. Or when we're doing pranayama, where we focus on breathing. But otherwise, just breathing happens automatically, even though nobody can live without breathing for, for a few seconds, right? If we don't breathe for a few seconds, we're gone. But somehow that is happening without our notice. And all other, that drives all the activities within our body. So anyway, so all the activities that are happening, Lord Krishna is saying, Indriyani Indriyardheshu Vartante iti. Okay, so we have to iti dharayan. So we have to think, firmly bear in mind, right? Iti dharayan, like this, how Indriyani Indriyardheshu Vartante is senses are engaged in the objects of senses. Indriyani is senses. Indriya Ardha, object of senses. Indriya Ardheshu, in object of senses. So when you are seeing, right, that seeing is the activity, it is getting engaged in whatever is object that we are seeing. It is, because it is the function of eye is to see. It is engaged in its activity of seeing the object of senses. Object of sense, our eye is whatever we are saying, right? Objects that we see, or color, things like that. So again, let us see, Srunvan, hearing. This Indriya, ears, are engaged in whatever we are hearing, music, let's say, for example, this lecture, this session. So we are hearing that. So they are engaged in its own activity. Okay, that is how we need to think. Naiva kinchit karomi iti. Na eva kinchit karomi iti manyeta. Na eva kinchit karomi. I am not doing anything. Okay. One should think iti manyeta. One should think like this, that I am not engaged in any of these activities. Here I is what?
Atma.
Atma. Atma is not engaged in that activity. It is the indriya, that is the sensory organ, is engaged in its activity. I am independent. I am different from that sensory organ. Like typically what we say, oh, I am smelling, I am eating, I am seeing, we associate that activity with ourselves. Okay, we lose the sense of that distinction. We think senses are us, or the senses that are the input of the senses is processed in mind, right? So that we think we are that. So we think, oh, I am engaged in this activity. I am enjoying this activity. So we should think that I am independent. I am in this body, and the senses of this body are engaged in the objects of senses, which is what they're built for. Like you can't, when we have the eyes, we are supposed to see, right? When we have hands, we are supposed to work with hands. You can say, I don't want to see, I don't want to hear, I don't want to smell, I don't want to touch. You cannot do that. So when we are engaged in an activity with the senses, don't associate that I am doing that activity. It is the senses which are engaged in that activity. Because it is natural for them. They're built for that. It's, so that is, this is one very, very important thing that we need to keep in our mind. That when typically we don't separate ourselves from any of these activities. I am doing all these activities. I am eating, I'm cooking, I'm driving, I'm working, everywhere we associate ourselves with that activity. Those activities are not our activities. They're the activities of the senses. Because we got this body, senses are doing their activities. I'm not doing those things. I have to separate myself. So I think 1 or 2 sessions back, someone asked, how do I do Karma Yoga, right? These are some of the steps that, that Lord Krishna is giving to, telling us how to perform Karma Yoga. So for every activity that we are doing, we need to separate ourselves from that activity. Okay. So one who knows the truth about self, that's what he said, right? Yuktaha tattvavit, one who is Karma Yogi, who knows the truth of about the self, about the tattvas, the realities. That one, whenever they are doing the activity, whenever their bodies are doing the activity, we can refer to them as they are doing the activities, in the sense that their Atma is, of course, cannot be separated from the body. So, but we should not think that Atma is doing those activities. It is the senses that are engaged in those activities. So when let us say you see very nice food, and it's so, we feel like eating it, right? Immediately what we should think? It is our tongue is engaged in that activity. Our nose is engaged in that activity. And which is what it is built for, right? There's nothing to hate or like there. So we don't, run away thinking that, oh, I made a mistake, I saw it. We should not even associate those activities with ourselves.
We can tongue eat it kind of a thing, and we feel that it's not us.
So when we are eating, it's the tongue that is engaged in its activity. Yeah. Okay. The other slokas also make it clear. I don't want to jump.
Sure. Okay.
So it is very interesting.
Yeah.
If you follow these principles, then we are doing Karma Yoga. We'll be following Karma Yoga.
Or Prasad Garu, one question. So long they are functioning fine and they are doing what they are doing, and it's not the soul. If the soul is the same as manas and mind.
No.
Mind, no.
No.
Okay.
Soul is not manas.
Okay.
So manas is
sorry.
part of the body. Atma has 2 meanings from a Sanskrit perspective. Not that just because we are calling Atma, soul doesn't become manas or manas doesn't become soul. No. So again, soul is also not the proper translation.
Okay.
It's Atma. So we because of lack of word, we use soul as widely used. Soul or self is widely used. So manas is part of the physical world, physical layer. Atma is not.
If manas is the physical layer, the manas can really mess up these functions.
Yeah, so basically the manas, I mean our body, right?
Mhm.
So manas controls all our senses, right? So manas is controlled by the buddhi,
Ah,
and buddhi is controlled by desire. We learned it in the previous.
right.
And so desires are the ones that need to be first conquered. And how can you conquer desire? Is by performing our duties as Karma Yoga. Then you will not have desire. You will do without expectations.
Mhm.
So that link is not always clear. I mean,
Mhm.
they'll say, how do you control desires? Then you say, okay, you do all these activities and you separate yourself from these activities. So then automatically desires start going down, right? I mean, if I think that I am enjoying the activity, then I will do it. If someone else is enjoying the activity, I feel no necessity to do it, right? Isn't it? If somebody wants to get um, bonus, and the bonus will be given to the person, I want bonus, so then I will try to do it. If I know that the bonus is not for me, then I don't do that activity, right? So but anyway, so these activities are senses are engaged in sensory objects, not Atma. Atma is not engaged in those activities. We are not engaged in those activities. We are experiencing the results of that.
Precisely, I was just thinking, like,
So if I say, oh, this is for me, right? What is that which gave the taste? Atma doesn't get the taste.
the tongue, sensory
Tongue
organ.
is the one that is getting the taste. It is not part of Atma, right? Imagine the body stays there, only Atma goes. So whatever the sensory pleasure that body is experiencing, it is experiencing because of the presence of Atma. If Atma is not there, body doesn't experience anything. But Atma is not the one that is, so Atma is experiencing that. It is not experiencing the taste as is. It is experiencing the result of that. So
how should an Atma react then? Like, I'm seeing like a masala dosa, right? It's so tasty.
yeah,
Tongue
you eat
is
it, but
realizing, and Atma is happy.
no. Basically, if it is our duty to eat, right? You eat, but don't associate yourself with that.
Okay.
You can eat. That's why you do all your duties properly. I mean, as long as it's not within the bounds of our duties, taking care of the body. Again, um, we can enjoy the nature. That as I said, right? The fact that we got eyes to see, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I'm not the one who is seeing, so let me close my eyes permanently and close it. That's not the purpose of the eyes.
Okay.
When you're seeing, you should not associate yourself with that activity. You let with your knowledge, with this knowledge that we are getting, the eyes are engaged in its activities, what we need to think. Okay. So with that, there will be some automatic control boundaries that will start happening. So senses are engaged, not Atma. Okay. So we'll move on to the next sloka. Shloka 10. Please chant. Brahmanyadhaya karmani
Brahmanya
Brahmanyadhaya karmani
sangam tyaktva karoti yaha
sangam tyaktva karoti yaha
lipyate na sa papena
Dipyate
lipyate
Napapena
padmapatra nivambhasa.
padmapatramivaambhasa
Let's chant together.
brahmanyadhaya karmani
sangam
sangam
tyaktva
karoti yaha
karoti yaha
lipyate nasapapena padmapatramivaambhasa.
Okay, so Lord Krishna is continuing. In Sloka 10. Yaha is whoever. Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti. Okay. Karmani brahmani adhaya karoti. Karmani is all works or actions. Karoti is performing. So karmani, whoever is performing their duties, whoever performs their duties, brahmani adhaya, attributing the actions in prakriti. Very, very important here. Brahmani here is in prakriti, of which our senses are also part. Okay, so Brahmani, Mama Yoni Mahad Brahma, like later sloka comes. So this prakriti is called Brahma. So we have to, again, this is another word. Brahma refers to several different meanings. Four-headed Brahma, Parabrahma, or it could be Prakriti as well. Body, it it can be body, it can be Prakriti, four-headed Brahma. I think Brahma is another word. So we need to apply the right meaning in the right places. So Brahmani here is, let me say, okay, why can't I use the meaning as Paramatma here directly? Brahma is Paramatma or God. So whoever performs their duty, attributing the actions to Paramatma, works, right? However, previously what Lord Krishna said, our senses are engaged in sensory objects. It's talking about that. So you attribute your actions to what? Within that same context, you have to talk about. Suddenly, why God will come into picture? So you are attributing your actions to the senses and sensory objects. Don't attribute it to yourself, is what Lord Krishna is saying. Yes, those are sensory objects, objects of senses, part of Prakriti. Prakriti is Paramatma's body, right? He is the one who is dwelling in the entire nature. So it becomes his body. This universe is his body. So yeah, I mean, indirectly we can say that we are attributing our actions to Paramatma. Of course, Paramatma is the one who is enabling all of us to perform our actions, so we can attribute our actions to Paramatma. That is in another sense. However, just flowing from one sloka to another sloka directly, the meaning here is that Lord Krishna is saying, Karmani Brahmani Adhaya Karoti, is performs duties attributing actions to Prakriti or in Prakriti. Okay, Brahmani is in Prakriti, and in the context, you can also say it as to Prakriti. So, how do you have to do? Sangam Tyaktva. This is very important. After giving up attachment. So doership is the mode. Okay. So earlier, what we are thinking, I am seeing, I am hearing, I am listening, I'm eating, I'm taking, I'm doing, and all those activities that I am doing, we need to give away with the doership, place the doership in Prakriti, of which our objects, our senses are also part. We are placing the doership on Prakriti, not on the Atma. Okay. Saha, that person, papena na lipyate, not tainted by sin. So will not acquire karmic bondage. Okay. So if we are attributing those actions to ourselves with attachment, I am doing it, giving the doership to myself, then we are acquiring sin. But if we are giving up the doership, then we are not acquiring sin. How Lord Krishna has given a great example here. Padma patram ivambhasa. Padma patram ambhasa iva. Just like the lotus leaf, Padma patram, the lotus leaf, stays in water, right? So ambhasa is by the water. So the lotus leaf is not tainted by the water, even though it stays in the water. Tainted in the sense it doesn't get wet, right? If you take out the lotus leaf, it will not be wet. If you put a paper or a cardboard or something like that, it becomes wet in the water. But just like how a lotus leaf is not getting wet in water, even though it stays in water, same way, even though because even though we do these activities, we are not getting tainted by those activities. We don't acquire sin. Okay, we need not run away from those activities, because those activities are needed for performing Karma Yoga, right? You know, we have to do our duties, our assigned duties. As part of our assigned duties, we have to take care of our body, our family, and society and country and the world and nature, and so many things we have to do, right? So while doing those activities, we will be doing, to perform our assigned duties, we will be seeing, we'll be hearing, we'll be eating, we'll be taking, giving, all this. So any of those activities when we are doing, don't assign doership to yourself. Assign doership to Brahmani in Prakriti. Okay, then we will not acquire sin, will not be tainted by those activities.
So Prakriti here refers to all the sensory organs then? That's what it means.
Yes, the senses as well as sensory objects.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so senses are part of our body, and they are interacting with the external entities. Like I'm eating food. So food is the sensory object for my tongue. Okay. So I attribute that activity to the, actually we attribute it to the senses because they are engaged in the activity. So our senses are part of Prakriti. So that's why we are saying Prakriti here. So the senses are the ones that are doing the activity. So I am attributing these actions to Prakriti, of which senses are part. and senses won't do the activity unless there are sensory objects. So attributing it to the Prakriti as a whole, like senses plus sensory objects.
Okay, Nandi. Thank you.
Okay. We'll go to the next sloka. Try to complete 11. Sloka 11. Kayena manasa buddhya
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या
केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि
केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि
योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति
योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा शुद्धये
Question together. कायेन
मनसा बुद्ध्या
केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि
योगिनः कर्म
कर्म
कुर्वन्ति
सङ्गं
सङ्गं
So Lord Krishna is saying Yoginaha is Karma Yogis. Okay, Yoginaha is a plural. The Karma Yogis, Sangam Tyaktva, after giving up attachment, Karma Kurvanti, performs work. They perform work. Okay? Very simple. Yoginaha Karma Kurvanti, Sangam Tyaktva. How do they do it? Kayena, Manasa, Buddhya, Kevalaihi, Indriyaihi api. By so Kayena is third vibhakti, by. So by means of the body. Manasa by means of the mind or by mind. Buddhya by intellect. Kevalaihi indriyaihi happy, and also by the senses. Kevalaihi, merely. Okay, so they're performing their work by all these, right? I mean, with the body, mind, intellect, with our senses. Okay. Now, why? Why do they perform their work? Is Atma Suddhaye, is to clean the Atma of ancient karmic bondage, to attain purification of the self. So the purpose of Karma Yogi doing any of these activities is to purify the self. Okay. They're performing with their body, all that. They're not running away. They're not running away from work. Also, they're not, saying, oh, this is not, the senses are not me, so I should not use it and things like that. No, they're properly using whatever instruments are available, like the body, mind, intellect, and senses. So all that they're using to clear the karmic bondage. So the purpose of doing our activities is not the results that we get. That's why we say, oh, do it without having expectations, right? We can have a goal. Again, whoever may be listening to this, so goals are fine. Goals should be there for whatever work we are doing. Like we also have a goal of clearing our karmic bondage. So there's no problem with having a goal. However, don't set an expectation that we'll get that result with our activity and that result belongs to me. That's the problem. If we have a goal and work towards it, as long as the goal is in line with our duties, whether we get the result or not, it's immaterial. If we are performing it as Karma Yoga, we get the result what we want. Purification of the self. That's all it matters. The rest of it is all temporary in nature. Temporary sensory pleasures, temporary money, or any other thing that we have, whatever belongs to this particular body. Once the Atma leaves the body, it doesn't take any of these materialistic possessions along with it. So none of it belongs to the Atma. So any material result that the body gets, when any body that performs the work, when Atma is present, that materialistic result will stay there only. Atma will not get anything out of it. Okay. So what result that we can expect is good result, clearing karmic bondage. Bad result, acquire more karmic bondage. That's all. So there are two types of results, as we were, discussing earlier. One is the karmic result and materialistic result. Materialistic result is for the body, not for us. The karmic result is for us. Either we are acquiring more karmic bondage or clearing existing karmic bondage. And if we are selfish, really selfish, we only look for karmic bondage, karmic results. Okay, and karmic results have nothing to do with materialistic results. Karmic results will come only by performing our duty. How we are performing, with what intention I'm doing the duty. If the intention is Karma Yoga supported by Jnana, clears the karmic bondage. I become debt free. But if I do it as a regular duty, as for materialistic benefit, materialistic pleasures, then yes, the result may come. That's immaterial. But just because of the intention with which we are doing, we get more karmic bondage. Okay, so there is a there is a definite result that we get with every activity. There is a the other result, materialistic result, is we don't know whether we get it or not. It's always not clear. But the karmic result is 100% guaranteed. Either we are clearing or we are getting karmic bondage. That's in our hands. The materialistic result is not. Okay. Any questions before we conclude? No. This chapter is very, it has a lot of principles that we can directly apply. So it gives more clarity about Karma Yoga. Okay, and Karma Sannyasa Yoga doesn't mean giving up the work. It tells us how to do the work, giving up attachment. So it clarifies what needs to be given up, not the work itself, but the intention with which we do the work. Okay. Let's conclude with the concluding prayer. Kayena vacha mansendriyerva buddhyatmana va prakrite swabhavat karomi yajjat sakalam parasmai narayanayet samarpayami. Sriman Narayanayethi samarpayami. Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Om Asmadgurubhyo Namaha. Jai Sriman Narayana.
Jai
Jai
Shri.
Srimanarayan.
Jai Sriman Narayana.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.